All right, everybody, and we are back.
And the year was 1985. We're back again, folks. And we have a huge episode here for you.
Huge episode, yeah. We got a excellent guest here, the man himself, Card Carver.
Tommy, how are you, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, fellas. I appreciate it.
Oh man, it is our pleasure. Our pleasure for sure.
Definitely, it's definitely our pleasure to have you on the show. We're still we're less than a year old. We definitely dabble in everything pop culture. So to have you and kind of feature you here and to show people the art that you make and stuff like that, I'm super proud to have you on. So thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was checking out your guys' page, and definitely, we seem to have a lot of similar interests, to say the least.
Yeah, like I see, like when I first caught into you, like, cause what year did you kind of it kind of came in like 2001 kind of thing first, I think, eh?
Yeah, I think it was 2001. I think so.
Right on, yeah.
It's been 3 or 4. This might be year 4, actually. I think.
When
did the pandemic? 2020.
Yeah, 2020, 2021 or whatever kind of thing, yeah.
I think it was 2020 when I first started.
Oh, nice, man. Okay, yeah. So I caught on, I seen some of your stuff, pop up here and there. I seen it in, on Instagram and different, whatever, social medias and stuff popping up in, 2001. Maybe it was early 2002 kind of thing. And I didn't really catch on to what was going on with it. You know what I mean? It just kind of popped up again. Or 2022, yeah. I would just hit, snippets kind of thing, right? But then I caught you on Coach Co. Of course, I really I don't know him in any way or whatever, but I really like the way he does things or whatever. And that was a really good interview, and I thought that was really good. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. So that's when we kind of started being like, oh, what's all this? And then you put out a Ninja Turtles card, man.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I was like, oh shit, now I'm hooked.
Well, that's the thing. Sam, you were the first person to show me his artwork and stuff like that. But I just want I think right away. I think as soon as somebody sees one of your pieces, it makes an impact almost immediately. It makes a connection. Someone knows, someone has a connection to something that's featured on your card, whether it's baseball or Ninja Turtles or Superman or Batman or Back to the Future. You kind of bring it all into one kind of thing, and it's all and that's I was just kind of blown away by the stuff that you make right away, because it's totally everything that we do on this podcast. It's everything we talk about, every different movie and show.
Yeah, it's crazy how well you hit it on the head. I think it's the thing. And every time it's this is really cool. This is really interesting. The MJ stuff, the MJ card with the MJ, that was sick. Oh man, yeah, they were just so good. It just hits the nail on the head with everything we do. That's kind of what we're up to. But where does that? Because where did you grow up? I guess would be my kind of first question. Because there has to be obviously influence from where you grew up and stuff like that.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate the kind words, and it's really flattering to hear you guys talk about my art that way.
Yeah, it's cool,
and to hear that you that it affected you in that way, because that's really what I strive for especially when I'm creating those pieces that have all the different images mashed up into one thing. That's exactly what I'm striving for. So thank you very much. I grew up north of Chicago. It was my whole childhood through the 80s into the. I moved from north of Chicago in the suburbs, 40, 50 miles north of Chicago, to Maine. And I've been in Maine besides a few years. Yep, besides a few years where I was in Boston and then Portland briefly.
Oh.
Well, I guess I should say Portland is Maine. But I lived in Boston. I've lived in Boston for a couple of years, and then I was in Portland, and now I am out in a very rural area of Maine that's near the capital, 20 minutes from the capital, Augusta. And yeah, man.
So growing up, what kind of stuff, what kind of stuff were you and your friends into? Because what year were you born in? I guess would be I'll start there first with that.
80.
Okay, so you're a little bit older, 5 years older than us, kind of thing. So we all kind of did the same stuff or whatever. But we're from Canada, you're from the States. What was it, what were you and your buddies doing, at 15 or whatever kind of thing?
At 15, I was in Maine, and I was definitely still collecting cards. I probably stopped really messing with cards. It was by by the end of high school, I stopped
Yeah.
collecting. And at that point, it was really super focused on basketball. I think by that time I was in high school, I started to lose interest in baseball due to the strike in the 90s. I really loved baseball, and the strike really, really broke my teenage heart. And with Jordan being around and basketball being what it was already huge to me anyway. Basketball really took over as my main focus. And MJ was my biggest thing. I had hundreds of MJ cards, which are, my mom's a bit of a pack rat to say the least, and she won't even really let anything leave her house, but my cards are there somewhere, and someday I'll get them, and there's a couple hundred Jordans there, I'm sure.
That's awesome.
But yeah, as a kid, I grew up really dabbling in a little bit of everything. My grandma was a collector. My mom was a collector. My grandmother collected cut glass, which is like way back, like the ornate, pretty like glass vases and things like that. They looked like crystal. They actually cut them by hand, and there were certain brands and things that were very valuable and desirable. And my mom would go with her going hunting for certain pieces. And my mom also collected presidential campaign buttons, pins.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So like my mom had a frame thing on the wall where like a piece of cloth that she had like stretched over a piece of wood or something and framed it, and she would put her new pins on it. So like I kind of grew up as a collector, grew up with collectors. I collected coins as a child. I was really big on comic books at one point. As a kid from the 80s, I'm sure you guys can relate. I'm sure they're still at my mom's house also. And even though there's, I'm sure, not really much monetary value, I'm really looking forward to someday coming across my old sticker albums.
Yes, man. Yeah. Stickers are like
I think I had
the jam for sure.
Huge. I remember I had like a couple books that were maybe like a Smurf collector's books, or I remember them being blue, and they had a white metal ring binding.
Nice.
And it was just full. I had two of them just full of all kinds of different cool stickers, and I loved them.
Nice.
When I was like 8 years old.
That's what
it's best. It's best awesome. to go back and go through all those old things that you had when you were a kid. I just had a whole binder that I just found recently, and it had we're Canadian boys, so we collect hockey cards. So we have a whole binder full of hockey cards that I just got to go through, and then kind of added to that collection when I was just at the latest card show here in town and stuff like that. So I got to ask, like, I'm not going to ask who the GOAT basketball player is. I know because you're a Chicago boy, it's going to be Jordan all the way, and I totally agree with that as well. Yeah. But like, what is that like growing up in that era of Michael Jordan when he's like coming up right there, and becoming the king and winning championships and stuff like that? But also you're a Chicago Cubs fan, I know. So what's it like dealing with all the heartbreak as well, being so it's kind of like the good and bad of Chicago fandom.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess you just grow up dealing with it. If you're a Cubs fan, I'm like at least a third, maybe fourth generation Cubs fan. The whole family, like all down the line for a very long time. So I guess it's just kind of part of the territory. The Bears were great, when I was a kid with the Super Bowl in '85, and then they were really solid, like contending kind of perennial playoff kind of team until like 1990, 91 or so. And then Michael and the Bulls right around the same time that the Bears were like, it was really apparent that the Bears were just a lost cause. The Bulls came on strong. So I think probably, I don't even know if it's arguable that, it's got to be the best period for Chicago sports period, that I was lucky enough to be right there in the middle of it, So, to me, it was phenomenal. And Michael Jordan, there's nothing to me that's ever going to top Michael Jordan for a professional athlete. It doesn't matter what sport it is, but Jordan is it. That's the pinnacle. Brady, maybe kind of close-ish. He won so many championships, but I still just don't put him up like where Michael was.
There was
Michael was just so cool.
Yeah, man, and there was like a whole different element to those guys, like him and Wayne Gretzky. You know, like there's certain people of that era that are like phenoms. Like they stand way above the rest. Even and like everybody has the argument, you know, would they stand up today? It doesn't even matter. Like it was a different thing. Like they were like Hollywood or something. Like it was crazy how big that stuff became. Like they had their own TV shows, and like you know what I mean. Like it was crazy. It was craziness.
Jordan had a show together.
Yeah, it's insanity. Like
pro stars.
Pro star. Yeah, like it's nuts, right? Like
I love that show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
little Bo Jackson in there too.
Bo Jackson. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
I remember that one. Really.
Yeah, it was just like they just hit different. Like you know, LeBron is there's no way anybody can say he's not an awesome basketball player or anything like that. But it doesn't do the same thing. It just doesn't do the same thing. You can do it. I don't know. It doesn't hit the same way. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think that also this kind of goes for like a lot of different things, and part of it is like the times that we live in. And the fact that there's not any mystery around celebrities and athletes anymore. We see every little piece of their life. We know like everything going on with them. We know the cars they drive. If you really want to get into it and follow, you're going to see their homes. You're going to see their family, their cars, all this stuff. There's no more mystery. And when we were growing up, it wasn't that way. It was like, oh, I can't wait for the next Sports Illustrated to come out, and I might see some great pictures of Jordan. You know, like I heard there's going to be an article on Walter Payton or whoever it was. You had to wait for, that Sports Center in the morning, and that type of thing. It was waiting, and there was so much that was unknown that left that like shroud of mystery around them that allowed them, I think, to grow even bigger in our minds. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah. Because I feel the same way about certain bands, like you know what I mean, like bands from say the like 60s, 70s. There was always mystique, right? There's some kind of mystique there. Like Dennis Rodman, man, is like, you know what I mean? Like everybody wanted to know what Dennis Rodman was doing because you couldn't, when he went off with Carmen Electra, whoever he was gone off with, like as soon as he closed the door, that was the end of it. Like there was no more pictures,
no tweets.
There was no tweets.
Right. And we all. What really happened? What did that look like? You might see a couple pictures, whereas like today, you could probably go to his Instagram if that was today, and click on tag photos and see 100 pictures from that night or something.
100%, yeah. And it's very staged, and it's not, it's not. It doesn't leave. There's no mystique. It's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't have that rock and roll effect or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like, I guess I'll have another question is. Like when you're sitting down, like do a card or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like a project doesn't matter. Like what's your process? Like do you just something comes like you see his piece. There's something cool about whatever it is you've seen that day, no matter if it's a card or whatever, because it probably strikes in different ways. But like, what does it look like for you in that kind of way? Like that because it's like I said, you tie in so many super relevant. Even though it's 25 years old, it's still deep within pop culture. Like, where do you come up with that kind of stuff? Like, I know ideas are kind of just out there or whatever, but like, where's all that influence coming from? Like, what really gets you going, kind of thing with that stuff?
I try to keep a lot of it. I try to keep like period correct. So if it's an 80s card, I'm gonna focus on the 80s as much as I can. Same thing, 90s and so on. Sometimes there'll be some exceptions for, maybe like a certain character plays well, or there's like certain colors that are going to help match with all the other images or the main image of the card. So that does happen. But I do really try to keep, like if it's an 85 card, I'm going to try to do stuff that's from around at least the 80s, if not as close to 85 as I can get.
So when you're designing that, do you have a digital process at all that you kind of pre-plan and pre-cut and move things around on a computer, or is everything first and last cut and that's all you do?
Well, first off, sorry about my dogs. That's going to keep happening.
No, don't worry about that. We got those.
I have two around here that I'm trying to keep out of here. So they're. I didn't even hear your dog. So
yeah, my son pitched, or he didn't pitch tonight, but he had a high school baseball game. He's just coming through the door.
Oh yeah, I'm getting all excited. No worries.
Oh yeah. But so I do that occasionally. Most of the time, I basically it's kind of like I pick a subject. So if I'm going to do a reprint of like Jordan's rookie, um, I just start by cutting out that main card. So that's done, and then I'll start basically just look. I've got binders and boxes full of non-sports cards, and I'll start just kind of flipping through and going through trying to find images that have either images or colors that are going to play well with the card. I'm back.
No worries, man. All
Sorry
good.
about that. So you're talking about all the background images in the cards.
Yeah, so like I find it really fun when I find something that I've seen before, or like I've had that card, or my buddy's had the card, or you know what I mean. Like you've seen it whatever way. I find that really fun. Like like when I seen the Bret Hart, I was like, fuck, I forgot about the Bret Hart. Like I forgot about that card. It was like shit. Then I seen it. I was like, yeah, that's sick. Like
Yeah.
such a cool. Yeah, man. I really, I think
yeah,
it's
and
interesting.
even like
to me.
you,
It's so fun.
you'll say, "Have you seen this card yet?" And I'm like, "But I didn't see where it had the whatever or like
Yeah.
the certain Coke logo or a certain thing." It's like I didn't see that the first time, and then when I go back and I have to look at the card again, I'm like looking
Yeah.
around. It's almost like a little treasure hunt. You're like,
It's
"Oh,
really
there it
cool.
is!" Like I didn't see that
Yeah, it's
the
cool.
first time I looked at it, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That, again, that's exactly what I go for too. I mean, the whole idea of making those cards to start with was what can I do different? Because there was a whole bunch of guys that were making cards already. I've been observing them. I really liked it. I started to make my own. And although I thought they were good, like they weren't really that much different than like what everybody else was doing. And I even had an already established artist, Matthew Rosen or Rosen. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. And he said to me, he said, I like this stuff you're showing me, but it looks like everybody else's. I've already seen it before. I want you to take a little time and I want you to figure out something that's like your own style. And that's what you're talking about. The pop art mashup cards is what I wound up developing. And the whole idea behind it was I love sports cards and I love so many other things. Why am I going to limit the sports card to just being a sports card when it could be so much more than that, and it could become more of the time capsule that they have become, where you look at it and yeah, you see Jordan, but you also might see the Ghostbusters and Super Mario and Wolverine or friggin' Snake Eyes and the G.I. Joes or Transformers. And each one of those pieces is put there with the intention not just to look cool, but to also evoke some type of emotion or pull you back in time to like a certain moment. Maybe it reminds you of your sleepovers with your buddies and playing video games and drinking Mountain Dew and eating Star Crunch, and or going to sitting on the couch and watching the game with your dad, or collecting comics and going to the comic store with your friends. Whatever it might be, all those nostalgic elements are going to make you feel something if you're from that era. So that's really what I'm striving for. So I love to hear that's the impact it had on me.
yeah, like there's to me almost like there's an element, and it has nothing. It doesn't look like graffiti, but there's an element of graffiti to it. Like that's something that I like about it, and like even like when I seen those tobacco cards today, I was like, oh shit. Like that's kind of why it struck me. Like it's almost like a graffiti or something. You know what I mean? It's almost like a tag to a certain degree. There's something about it that really hits that. Like, is that something that is on your radar in any way? Like, you know what I mean? Is that like an influence to you in any way?
Not necessarily really trying to be graffiti like, but I think that the art that I create, no matter what kind of art I'm creating, is always going to have some kind of like almost like hip hop or street element to it. Just because I've been like enthralled in hip hop and rap music since DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince came out. That was the first album I ever bought. Period. I went in the cassette store and I bought that album. It was my first cassette. I just always have been drawn to rap music and hip hop, and I mean, it's almost all that I listen to, maybe to a fault. I mean, I do love other stuff, but if I'm driving and stuff, I'm listening to rap music, you know.
Nice.
It's just what I'm into. I'm hoping tomorrow I'll be announcing that I've got a pretty well-known rapper, East Coast rapper that's worked with DJ Premier a lot, works with Static Select. He's on Shade 45 a lot. I'm probably going to be having him at my event in New York City next week.
Nice.
With with Rapper Cards, which I don't know if you guys have heard of the company Rapper.
I've heard of it. I've seen like the same thing. I've seen him poking around on Instagram or whatever kind of thing. Like I've seen those. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
They're kind of newer. They work with a lot of like more kind of like underground hip hop artists. But like I think they put out Autographed, like Conway the Machine. You know, the guys from Griselda. I'm trying to think of some of the bigger names that they've done, but like Sky Zoo. I remember, yeah. There's a whole bunch of Talib Kweli.
Oh,
trying to remember.
I get a Talib Kweli. I'll take an auto from Talib Kweli. That's nice.
Excuse me. But yeah, so the whole idea of Rapper Cards is exactly
cool.
what it sounds like. They work with rappers, they sign them. They actually have packs that you can buy and rip, and they're randomly inserted autograph cards and stuff. So
we're gonna have to get some of those.
We'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah,
that's on the radar for sure now.
Look them up. They definitely have a cool product. I think I'm going to be collaborating with them soon, and I've got them coming to my event in New York City next week, which is really exciting.
Nice, man. That's pretty sick, actually. Yeah, like that's something I think about a lot, like because we're into skateboarding, like, and I mean through skateboarding, hip hop kind of a thing or whatever. Like we always like been like, man, somebody should do like skateboarders, like because there's teams, there's rookies, cards. You know what I mean? Well, I guess I've only seen a couple though. Like I don't know of many people that are really getting after it, I guess. Like I've seen a couple of different things, but I'd like for somebody to like pull up to like the Zero team and be like, we're gonna do Zero team cards,
like a series,
or a series or whatever, something cool like that. Like that's something I've thought about a couple of times. Like I'm in no way artistic in that kind of way.
Have you ever thought about doing?
Cool idea.
Have you ever thought about doing like a series of, let's say, a particular year of Bulls cards, and then incorporate different things from such a year, and then have like say 3 or 4 cards and have like a put out different series of cards, you know what I mean?
I have, yeah. A lot of the stuff I do ends up being very random. I did kind of do like a series when I first came out with the pop art cards. I made like 4 or 5 variations of Jordan's rookie, and I just sat on them and I didn't show or tell anybody about them because I was really worried that there's a lot of copycats. Right, and I didn't want to tell anybody my idea, like this is what I'm going to be doing, wait for it. I just came out with it, and I had like 5 of them all ready to go. So it was like, boom, here's one. And then like the next week came, boom, here's another one. Nice. And I just tried to keep coming with them. But yeah, I've definitely thought about doing series. That's kind of what the tobacco cards, I came up with the name Lawless Tobacco, and I started putting those out, and that was going to be a series. And then I just kind of drifted away from it. I'm just so all over the place, really, with my ideas, and I have so many ideas too that it's just like I could never even scratch the surface of all the things I want to do, which can be really frustrating as an artist because I can't tell you how many times I see somebody put out a card or do something. I'm like, shit, there's another.
Yeah.
But I'm also at the point too where like I feel like it doesn't matter if somebody's already done it.
That's right.
No, I mean, like, music is in that way, too, right? Like, I mean, you can play GCA, and you can play pretty much, 80% of songs, or whatever it would equate to, right? Like, so it kind of becomes that kind of a thing. Like, what do you do with the stuff that you're given? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think I find so interesting about art cards in general. Like, because there's the print side, like, where people are kind of designing the card and designing, whatever it is that's going to be on the card, and then getting them printed. Kind of a thing, like that type of thing, which there's nothing wrong with that either, but it's a different thing when you gotta manipulate something and make it something else. Like it's very hip hop of you to do that. I guess is what I mean. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a really great point, and I brought that up before too. That what I do is to me is similar to hip hop, especially in beat making, where you're pulling apart a record or going through records and pulling out certain samples and then rearranging them how you see fit. That's exactly what I'm
The
doing.
different
Where I'm
layers of
pulling,
things.
Yeah.
right, instead of pulling vinyl out of crates, I'm pulling cards out of boxes.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
cutting.
Because that's kind
You
of
know
like
what I
that's
mean?
kind of my like I I'm a music guy. Like that's kind of like I collect everything under the friggin' sun, but like I collect
Right.
music kind of a thing. Like even like to the point where like I've got like my Napster collection still on a CD. You know, like the original copy. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to lose it. I'm afraid. You know what I mean? As if you can't get the same songs. But it's just something about it. Like that's what I like to collect. I like CDs. I like that kind of thing or whatever. So like, yeah, it's interesting. So, like, have you ever thought about like experimenting with like CD covers or like VHS covers or, you know what I mean? Like not necessarily outside of cards, I guess is kind of, you know what I mean, like, or experimenting with anything else, you know what I mean, in terms of that. Like I know the tobacco cards are kind of a little bit different medium in a way, but have you ever thought about doing CD covers or something like
Yeah,
that?
you just a just a remake of a cover. You mean?
Yeah, or whatever way, you know what I mean. Put your own spin, like Friday the 13th,
Definitely.
but with your own spin on it, kind of thing. Same way you would do a card, I guess, in a way, but in your own style or whatever, right?
Yeah, I bought comic books with the intent of doing similar shadow box type of things to them, and again, I just haven't gotten to it. Like I've got
Too many
comics that I
ideas.
bought. I have comics that I've had for well over a year now that I just haven't gotten around to them. It's just the way it freaking goes, man. And
Yeah, but
at the point where I'm at now, like I work a full-time job and everything that I do with cards and art is outside of those hours. And I'm a father of three. It's just like my time is so limited, so I have to make the most of the little time I have, and it's unfortunately I have to really pick and choose what I do. And I'm at a point now where like I'm fortunate enough to where it feels like I'm really like picking up traction and starting to get like there's collaborations and things that I didn't previously have on my horizon, where it's like, where I'm going to take them on, and now I'm going to have even less time to do
yeah,
the things that I had in mind and really wanted to do. But all in good time. These are good problems to have, though, right?
yeah, man. It's all
Always,
about the process, right?
always
Like, it's all about the
opportunity, right?
process. Yeah, it's always an opportunity. Everything is, technically should be looked at as an opportunity, right? It's all about the process
Yeah,
too. That because, like, when you get 10 years down the road and you look back, you're like, oh yeah, that kind of sucked for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it looks like, and then I remember when this thing happened and that was it, and that changed things. You know what I mean? So it comes. It
yeah,
all comes in time, man. It all comes in time. You just put your time in, right?
for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really good time right now. It's just the only downside of it is that there's only so many hours in a day,
Yeah,
really.
I feel you on
Uh,
that one.
yeah, I'm at a point now where I'm starting to get people to fly me to card shows to be there and
That's
to
nice.
do. I'm doing creative consulting work,
Nice.
coordinating events and bringing in sponsors. I mean, I'm a kid from Grays Lake, Illinois, and Maine, who's now throwing art shows and trade nights in the Village in New York City.
Yeah,
Like
man.
it's freaking awesome. I know Beckett authenticates my autograph. Like,
Yeah, man, that's sick too. Like that's another thing. Like that's unreal, man. Like an art card getting certed. Like, are you kidding me, right? Like,
I
Certified,
never
baby.
would, like 10-year-old me friggin' collecting Cubs cards, sitting on my bedroom floor flipping through binders at my 1989 Cubs cards would never have guessed that I would be in the position I'm in.
I don't imagine, man. Like, and that's what I find interesting about, like, because it's kind of like, I don't know how it looks from the inside, but from where I stand, there's kind of like a group of you guys now that I'm kind of following, and I really like what everybody's doing. It's all positive. It's about the hobby, but it's about like everybody's trying to get everybody to grow a little bit. So like, it's cool to watch you grow. Like even in the last like 6 months, you can kind of tell like, oh, you can see it, right? Like, and you can tell you're putting your work in. You can tell that people are appreciating the work you're putting in, right? It's cool. Like that's kind of why I was like, man, I hope I can get him on. Like I hope he's not too busy. I would just like to chat to him because like it's been cool. Like it's cool as a fellow artist. Like I mean, I do music and I do other weird random stuff or whatever, but it's cool to see somebody do something very interesting and different and it work. That's what I like because I think you're just gonna gain more steam. Like that's my feeling on this. Like, and I think the art card thing is gonna gain more steam, and it is. I mean, it has totally gained lots of steam technically, but I think it's gonna gain some serious steam. And I think like you being able to get certs and those types of things are going to push it further. And the fact that you're kind of you're in the hobby, but you're kind of doing your own little thing. Like you're having, technically like an art show, but it's also a card show, but it's also a hip hop show. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff is really cool to me. Like that's the stuff I like to see. And that's what I think it should be. It should be fun and interesting.
I agree, and I really strive in everything I do. I strive to do things different and to do them at a high level. So I mean that's like the idea of me. If I'm going to come to New York and I'm going to host an event, I'm going to do everything I can to bring those other elements in that have never been done before, at least not in the way that I'm doing them. Like who brings like a super underground hip hop legend rapper to a trade night.
And that's what's fun. Like that's what it should be. Have some fun, everybody. Right? Like that to me is fun. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's super fun. Like that. And I think too, the card, like a lot of card stuff, I find gets caught up in being just cards, where there's lots to collect, even within cards, kind of a thing. Like I don't know. Like it's not like a shit on anybody. Anything. It's just I find cards gets caught up in cards a lot, which is fine, but there's like the reason I like the cards is because I like the photos, or I like like TCG stuff, which is what I primarily enjoy the most. It's the artwork and like how did they piece that together, like or like why those choices kind of thing or whatever, like, and they're a little more flashy kind of thing in terms of like artwork style versus a photograph, which is interesting, which is I feel is very much what you're up to. You know what I mean? Yeah,
for sure. Man, I'm really excited about this event in New York. Actually, I'm starting to get really hyped. They just received, so we were talking about the tobacco cards. I've got a Jordan that I had done, and I did it in like this one. I did it, and I don't know how big the art was, 15, 17 inches. But just today, I had delivered to New York to Cards and Coffee, one that's like 44 inches tall.
Ooh, shit. Nice.
Gallery wrapped, 44 inches tall, maybe 22 inches wide, so it's like nice and deep. And it literally, I've had one of these made before, not the Jordan. It was a different design. It was actually, I did Johnny Depp and Blow.
Nice.
I forget the guy's name, the name of the character in the movie, but it was
him.
It was him flipping the bird in his mugshot. And I did like a remix of it. It was really, really cool.
That's awesome, actually.
So they just got there today. I'm really excited. They unboxed it and they said it looks incredible. So I can't wait to see that. I've got a really good feeling about that selling down there.
Nice.
I've got a Wembanyama Alien T206 wall art piece, and we were talking about the different things and doing stuff that's more than just cards. That's one of the cool things about this event, where I'm trying to do more than just cards, and it's not just bringing in rapper cards and bringing terminology. It's also bringing in other artists that do more than cards. So I'm bringing in some sculptural elements too.
Nice. That's cool.
We've got wall art in a variety of different sizes, from small to like huge. And then we've got some sculptural pieces from a few different artists that are going to be there. I have some 3D printed kind of sculptural kind of things. One in particular, I actually am just realizing I have not checked this week with my printing guy to see if he's going to have this thing ready for me. It was supposed to be ready for Ultra Collision, and his 3D printer, something fried out in it, like in the middle of the night. It was like halfway printing for me. And anyway, I'm hoping to have that with me too. It's something that holds cards, but it's like a big, and it's almost like a sculpture, and it's for displaying your cards. It's going to be cool. I've got other things like that I'm working on too. I've got a buddy that has some really like top of the line 3D printers. He has a few different kinds of them. The guy's just a wizard with the stuff. So here, hold on 1 second. I'll show you. Yes, got.
Oh snap! Nice. That's sick, man.
Those are awesome.
So this is I call him Tommy Trouble.
Tommy Troubles. Because the other one's the green one, right?
Yeah, there's a few of them. This one's hand painted by my buddy.
Oh, sick.
So his face is actually my Card Carver signature, the TCC, this little grimacing kind of
nice.
face.
Nice.
That is what I
Man.
sign with.
Nice, man. That
And
looks good.
I was always a huge fan of Bart, so this was just kind of like a natural kind of thing that happened.
That's awesome, actually. That's sick.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I've got other. This one's just like a small.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's one I've seen, yeah.
It's a yellow.
Translucent yellow.
Yeah, it's almost has kind of like a Jolly Rancher look to it. But yeah, my interests definitely vary, and that's where I was talking about, coming up with projects and different things. I'm so all over the place with my interests.
It's good though. You don't want to be one dimensional in anything, right? So to bring that kind of element to a show and have a musical aspect to it, to have the cards, to have physical sculptures. It's something for all your senses, right? It's something new. You're not coming into a show and just looking at tables. You're kind of experiencing the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And ultimately, I'm probably not going to achieve it to the degree that I wanted to with this first event. Every time I do something like this, no matter what I'm doing, it's always the first times. Every experience is a learning experience.
Absolutely.
Going to give me areas to grow, but an ultra sensory experience is really what I would like to achieve with an event. My idea of a gallery event with sports art would be projectors and a popcorn machine, maybe guys walking around like dressed like it's a ball game and it's baseball art, and the guys walking around handing out popcorn. So
That's so cool, man.
That would be fun. That would be super fun, man. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
the smell of the popcorn alone, right?
You have the smells of the ballpark, the sounds and the smells. So it's, really, really an experience.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I have so many different ideas and I'll get there. But yeah, these are the types of things that I want to achieve. And it's just one step at a time to get there.
Yeah, man.
I can't wait to see everything grow, and I can't wait to be along and watch everything. And fuck yeah, I can't thank you enough for coming on the pod again. I'm just gonna throw that out.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, you guys got a good vibe, man. We vibe on the same kind of stuff, so yeah, it's cool, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah.
It's funny because the Ninja Turtles on the wall, the Back to the Future on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. Try to plug in a little Canadian or some Canadian bands and whatever plugged in there, but yeah.
Oh yeah. This is pretty much. This is like I said. Yeah. This is new to us too. This is our learning experience. We're always trying to grow and make this better. So. Hell yeah, we appreciate you.
You're like your third actual guest technically. So, yeah, no, we appreciate it, man. It's awesome, and like I say, it really fits the vibe and whatever. Yeah, I mean, we'll let you get going because we know you're a busy man and you got stuff to be doing and whatever.
But
yeah, is there anything? Plug some stuff that's coming up. I mean, we know you got some stuff coming up. You got some stuff dropping and stuff like that. So let it rip.
Yeah. So next week, May 9th. Thursday, New York City, Bleecker Trading, 5 to 10 p.m. Sports card, art experience, and trade night featuring me, works from Andy Friedman, Chuck Stiles, Blake Jameson, King Saladin, Stacy Wall, Ken Carl, Card Killer, Jordan Spector, Staggered Daggers, and some others too. We're doing sushi. I'm not just doing pizza. We will have pizza, but it's going to be like designer New York, very top of the line pizza. I'm also doing sushi. Who does sushi at trade night?
That's unreal.
We do.
Love it, man.
Next level shit.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we'll have music and food and drinks. It's going to be a great time. Some great hosts, some great surprise guests, a ton of prizes. I have 2 or 3 airtime slabs to give away. Celebrity Mint is sending me some stuff, and they make like solid, real yellow gold and silver Ric Flair and Mike Tyson trading card coin. Oh man! I mean, there's a lot of stuff to give away.
Yeah.
And then I've got the main collector convention coming up June 22nd, June 22nd and 23rd here in Augusta, Maine. We got Jose Canseco, which we're really excited about because you don't really see big names like that up here in Maine.
Yeah.
Period. We have Paris Thelman, who played, I forget the character's name, which is terrible, but he played the boy in the original Willy Wonka movie who was dressed like a cowboy. The one one of the golden tickets. We have him, and we have Miko Hughes, who played the little kid, that Gage, that got run over in the original Pet Cemetery.
Okay, yeah, he was in Kindergarten Cop as well.
Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah, Kindergarten.
He was in one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and he's been on like a bunch of other stuff too. He seems like a really rad dude, and we didn't know when we booked him, but it's actually the 35th anniversary of Pet Cemetery, and he hasn't. They filmed that movie in Maine, and he hasn't been back since they filmed. So that's kind of a cool thing. We've got a sketch artist that lives here in Maine that works with Topps. His name is Brad Davis. And just a couple of days ago, he sent a preview of a trading card that he's working on of Gage with like the cat, and it's got this Maine theme. It's super dope.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I got that, and then after that, it's the National, and I'm going to be doing some type of activations in the VIP room at the National with a company called Ludex, who I've become very good friends with, and Ludex is also the big main sponsor, along with Zion and Culture Collision, on the show next week. So the activations in the VIP room at the National are going to be really dope. I'm going to be organizing different things and different times for all these different artists to come in and have time for people to come and meet them. We're hoping to have art for sale as well. That might end up being a little tricky just because of the National and them having. The National has artists that pay for booths on the floor. Yeah. They're not excited about Ludex having artists come in and then setting up at a table, which is understandable. So we're just working out the details on that. And then I'm back at Culture Collision in September in Atlanta.
Nice.
Yep. And I talked to Jeff Wilson a little bit via Messenger, and he said he likes the idea of the gallery. So I've got the gallery next week in New York City. I'm hoping, and it looks like I'll have the gallery in Cleveland, and then I might bring the gallery to some degree to Atlanta, to Sports Card HQ and to Culture Collision. I'm thinking if we don't do it at Culture Collision, then we do it as like kind of like what I'm doing in New York, where it's like a trade night / art event at Sports Card HQ. That's very much in the air. Nice. And in its infancies. I will be at Culture Collision. How the gallery ends up happening in Atlanta, I'm not sure yet, but it's in the works.
Nice, man. Awesome stuff, man. Again, we really appreciate you coming on, man, and just shooting shit with us and talking shop kind of thing with us and whatever. Yeah, man.
Check me out at thecardcarver.com.
Yeah, I was going to say, plug your website.
Yeah, my handle on all my socials is just the Card Carver. Real simple. If you Google me, you'll find me. I'm starting to be in lots of places, which is good. Which is why I appreciate you guys having me on. Every podcast I'm on just helps to grow my imprint on the internet, which is huge. So I appreciate you guys. This was a great time. I'll come back on anytime you'd have me.
Man. Yeah. Well, your stuff definitely makes an impact. So we would definitely love to have you on again. And
we'll talk to you after the National. We'll talk about what goes on, and we'll get a little couple details maybe.
Absolutely.
We'll hook up with you later. But yeah, I mean, really appreciate it as always. This has been another episode of In the Year 1985.
Eagle has landed.